Well, good morning, South Creek. It is the first Sunday of Advent. Advent comes from the Latin word that means arrival. It has to do with waiting and anticipation. And I just wanted to come on here. I know obviously we're bummed we're not in person today, but to encourage you today as we walk into this Advent season. This historically would be the Sunday that we would talk about hope. Hope is this thing we all hold on to and desire. The question usually becomes, where have we put our hope? Is it in our finances or our health or our looks, or is it where it should be, which is Jesus? And as we walk into this Advent season, we're walking into this series that we're calling Waiting Witnesses. When we look at the very first Christmas story, we see different people who were witnesses to the birth of Jesus, whether it was even prior to him coming or if it was during this very first Christmas. And during this series, we're going to kind of look at different people. And today was going to be this guy named Zechariah. Zechariah, who was this priest who him and his wife Elizabeth deeply desired children, and yet it had never happened for them. And yet they were faithful regardless. And eventually their story changes as we read in the Gospel of Luke, where Zechariah has this vision while he's on this priestly duty that God is going to give them a son. And this son is going to be the one who would prepare the way for the Messiah. Now, in the story, we essentially learn as Zechariah is silent during this whole pregnancy. And we learn that this is the first moment that God, in Scripture recorded, begins to speak to somebody of his people. And one of the lessons we learn from it is the idea that God's silence is never God's absence. That oftentimes he is working in the background. And even though things feel dark, one of the things that hope gives us is this knowing that the dawn is going to come. Every night when we go to bed and the sun goes down, which now is very early, I think we all know and we all assume and we have hope that eventually the sun will rise again. And that's what hope is all about. And that's what Jesus' coming was all about. Now, our anchor text for this Waiting Witnesses series is going to be this from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, starting in verse 1. It says this: "In the beginning was the Word." This is Jesus. "And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of all mankind." And this is the big key verse. "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Today, as you maybe are walking through different things, dealing with a delayed sense of prayer request, or maybe you are lacking hope, I hope you know that we, as followers of Jesus, we are called to wait with holy expectation. This idea of holding space, of understanding that God will move, and that we are called as his witnesses, those who have experienced his grace and his love and his mercy. We are called to witness to this wonder and share this good news. All the people we're going to look at in this story, all they essentially did was they were faithful, and they eventually told others about what God had done in their life. So some application points if you're struggling today. Name your night. Every single one of us go through dark moments where we're waiting or we're wondering or we're struggling. And sometimes the best way to deal with it is to acknowledge our pain, acknowledge our problem, and acknowledge his presence. Here's the second thing: stay faithful even in the shadows. Even when it feels like nothing is going on, stay faithful. Bamboo, Chinese bamboo, is an interesting thing. You plant it for the first year and you water it over and over and you see nothing. And then the second year, you do the same thing, nothing. And the third year, nothing. And the fourth year, nothing. And on the fifth year, though, when you do it, it finally explodes in growth. Now, the whole time it feels like nothing is happening and you're just faithfully doing this silly thing, but eventually it grows. And in the same way in our lives, hope is one of those things we hold on to and we continue to be faithful to, and eventually God will grow it. And the last thing is just make room for the unexpected. Every single person in the Christmas story has a moment where God throws a curveball that they aren't expecting and they wouldn't maybe even desire. And yet it ends up being the one thing that brings them pure joy and hope and love. So friends, just because you cannot see the dawn doesn't mean that the light's not rising. I love you, friends. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you next week for week 2 of our Advent series, Waiting Witnesses. Love you guys.